We go back to 1984 when a small lay community was formed called the Alabare Christian Community, back in Essex, in fact, in those times. And in 1985, that community moved here to Wilton, just outside Salisbury. And when the community was formed, its initial words that we'd been given was make hospitality your special care. And we work still to that to this very day, make hospitality your special care. We didn't quite know what it meant, we just thought it was meant be polite, welcome people when they come to your home, etc. But the Lord had something a little different in mind. And so things went very nicely for the first few years. And then probably back in about 1990, I suppose, perhaps 1989, we got a phone call. And it was a Baptist minister, and he said, I've got a homeless chap here, would you take him in? And I said, well, why are you asking me to do that? He said, well, you're a Christian community, aren't you? Isn't that what they do? So, because we wanted to work ecumenically as well, and I was a Roman Catholic, I found myself saying, yes, that's right, yeah, of course we will. And it's one of those things I've learned over time, don't open your mouth too quickly till you know all the answers. Because as the conversation went on and I said, tell me a bit more about this man, he said, well, actually, he's an alcoholic man of the road. Well, I went sick. I'd never dealt with the men of the road as far as I was concerned. They were dirty, they were smelly, they were troublesome. And so I have to confess my first thing was to try and squirm out of this, because I immediately said to him, well, aren't you a Christian community? You said you're a Baptist minister. Is your church not a community? To which the answer was, yes, we are, and that's very embarrassing, but all of my church have tried for the last 2 years and they're not prepared to do any more. And I thought, crumbs, what on earth have I taken on? And I had a wife and 3 very young children at the time. Anyway, this chap dutifully came that night to stay with us. And after a couple of days and he settled in, we began to realise actually that he wasn't very different to anybody else. He wasn't drinking at the time he came in. The rule we had when he first met him was he could not drink while he was staying with us. And so this man lived with us, to cut the story short, for about 2 years, on and off, because if he went back on the bottle he had to leave. And we had an understanding that if he saw us in the streets when he was drunk, we would ignore him and he would ignore us, because we didn't want to damage the mindset our 3 very young children had, and I mean very young, all under 5, had of him, because they saw him as a grandfather in the house. He was great with them, they were great with him, and we didn't want them to lose that relationship by being frightened when they saw him staggering around the street. And he was obedient to that the whole time he was with us, no problem. Anyway, after about 2 years, we got him into rehab down in Kent. And so he left us and went to try and dry out permanently. Well, he'd only been gone a matter of days and the phone rang again, and somebody said, I'm wondering if you could take my daughter to live with you. She's pregnant and her husband has just been sent to prison and she's got nowhere to live. And her daughter-in-law it was. And so we said, okay, make hospitality your special care, come on in. So she stayed until she had the baby, and then she was able to get housing and moved on. And as she left, the phone went again, and it was a girl from Corrymeela in Northern Ireland who, her father was the treasurer of Corrymeela, which is the peace organisation in Northern Ireland, and she wanted to get away from the, so we were told, from the environment. So she came, and she was probably one of the more difficult we had to deal with, because she'd had a nervous breakdown, we didn't know that, and she went into rapid regression when she came to us. So, you know, you come down in the morning for your morning prayer, and you meet her and she's dressed and looks all happy, and then by the time you come out and have breakfast, she's there in her nightdress, and you start to question your own sanity. Did I see her dressed or did I not? You know, and it went on like that for about 18 months. And at the end of it all, we couldn't cope any longer, really, particularly with this particular woman, because everything was so erratic and you could get no sense. And our doctor, who lived opposite, said there's nothing you can do until she reaches rock bottom. We can't treat her in any other way until she decides she's ready and needs treatment. So we decided to go away on a short holiday just to get a break from it, and we left her where she was. And when we came back, praise God, she'd gone. And there was just a little note, I hope you don't mind, I've taken a couple of suitcases, I seem to have more going than I came with. I don't know what else she had. And she went. And little note, I'm going to be a nanny in France. Well, God help the family, but we couldn't say anything to them, we didn't know who they were. And so a few more people came, and then we decided that it was going to be fairly difficult to retain our sanity. We both had full-time jobs, my wife and I. The children were at school by this stage, and so we decided that we'd burn out if we carried on like this. So for a year, we took nobody in, and we just prayed about, Lord, what does this mean? Make hospitality your special care. What do you want us to do? And one morning, we were living in community then with other people, and I came down to my normal time of morning prayer, and there was a dear old lady living with us, and I said, and she was crying, and I'm not very good at dealing with women in tears, so don't burst into tears while I'm here, whatever you do. And she was crying, and I thought, what do I do, what do I say? And I was on my own with her. So I said, Mary, I said, I had a dream last night. I said, and that dream was that God was asking us to buy a house for our homeless people that come to us, these people in need. Well, this little cry went into wails of sobs. And I said, Mary, what on earth is the matter? And she said, I heard the Lord say to me last night in my sleep, give John £40,000 to put towards buying a house for the homeless. And that's how Alabaré Christian Care Centres started.